Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're going to be making a Christmas tree skirt. This is a free pattern from Ellie and Max, so check out below and go grab the pattern and let's sew it together. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just finish up all the raw edges of your fabric. It makes things a little bit easier when we're working with the bias and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. That's just up to you, but it just makes it a little bit easier so your fabric doesn't start fraying or being all funky. So we're going to go ahead and do that. You can do that on your serger or with a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. Would be just fine. And once I do that, also, I went ahead, I found this gorgeous, like a holiday themed fabric, and it was so inexpensive. It was on sale. So I went ahead and just got myself some binding already, so I don't have to make all the binding. But if you want to make the binding, like if you're just using fabric you already have, you can go ahead and do that. You will cut 2-inch strips because we're going for a 1/2 inch binding. So here's 2-inch strips, and then we will fold it in half first. Once it's folded in half, we seam it. Then we will fold it, grab those raw edges and fold them in to that half. Whoop. And then we will fold them together. And that is how you create your own binding. So you would go ahead and make your binding. Don't want to drop my iron. Go ahead and make your binding for it, if that is what you choose to do, or you can just go ahead and grab you some store-bought binding. So I'm gonna go finish those raw edges and then we'll work this together. Once my skirts are finished, we're gonna go ahead and grab our back panels, and we're gonna use that straight side, the short side, and we're gonna do that for both. We're gonna grab our binding, so either the store-bought binding or the binding you just created, and we're gonna measure and with the length of that one side, and we're gonna cut that binding there. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of extra just in case I didn't measure it correctly. And then I'm gonna open my binding, and I'm going to, right at that edge, I'm going to pin it or clip it, and then we're going to be sewing. So the right side of the binding is going to be grabbing the right side, touching the right side of my fabric. Well, I mean, you could do it on the right side or the back side because it's gonna flip over and come around anyway. And we're going to go ahead and pin it to that raw edge. And then we're gonna go over to the sewing machine and sew right along that crease on your binding. Honestly, I like me-made binding better than store-bought binding. I think it lays nicer, and also the store-bought binding is kind of not as nice, and then also there's more options. Like, I really actually liked the idea of doing this kind of gingham pattern with this skirt, but I didn't have enough of it, so I'm just like, let's just go with the red. But honestly, I probably, I don't know, kind of rather the me-made binding, honestly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the other side as well, and then we're gonna go over to the sewing machine and sew it. All right, I'm just going to use a straight stitch and sew right along that one fold of my binding, my first fold, and I'm just doing a straight stitch. Whoops. All right, now once that's sewn on, we're gonna turn to the back. We're gonna push that seam allowance towards the binding, and then we're gonna fold that binding right on top. Now mine is a single fold binding, so that's why it looks smaller. Yours might look thicker if you have a double fold, which is better. But either one will work. You'll just have a thicker binding or a thinner binding, and then you're just gonna pin it down. Probably easier if you steam it. Might go back and steam it, but you're gonna fold it down over that seam, and you're gonna go all the way down and do that to both seams that we just created on the skirt. Now, since mine is a single fold, what I could do, if I wanted the thicker seam, I could just fold it to that seam like that. And then I could just top stitch it right on that way. But that means that I'd have to put the binding to the wrong side of the fabric first, and then that would work. But if you put it to the right side of the fabric, you can just fold it right in half as well. It's just a thinner look. So it really is up to you what you want to do, if you want the thinner or the thicker look. And then once this is done, once I'm done pinning, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my sewing machine and top stitch it. While I'm at it, I'm also going to grab my main piece, my main skirt, and I'm gonna put it right side up on my board. This is the side, and I'm gonna grab the other side of my skirt. Make sure that you are doing the right sides, the bottom side, the top little curve side. So I'm gonna put them right sides together. This is not the right side, so this one doesn't go here. It's gonna be the other one. Right sides together. That binding is gonna go to the middle, and this one's gonna go, the other side is gonna go. We're gonna put them right sides together, and we're going to sew them together with a straight stitch. This one got kind of wiggly on me. This fabric is kind of crazy. It kind of like wiggles and twists, and like it's like a very stiff kind of weird fabric. But it really doesn't matter to me because, well, first of all, I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to fabric. I try not to let it stress me out. But second of all, it doesn't matter because once I put it on the tree, it's kind of gonna lay a little bit wonky anyways. I'm gonna kind of squish it up and move it around. So it really doesn't bother me that it is taking a shape of its own. So I think it'll be good. I am also super excited. I think I'm gonna try to make this with more of a sweater knit too, like and maybe do like a faux fur for the trimming instead of using binding. I think that would be great too. So what I would do if I was going to do that, if I was gonna do like the faux fur or something like a trimming, I would probably, instead of finishing it, though you could just finish it. Instead of finishing it, I would probably hem those the edges that you're going to add the trimming to, and then I would just top stitch the trimming to it. So instead of doing a binding, I would do the trimming and top stitch it right on it. Like, and I would probably not do it on the back. Like these backs, I would probably still do the binding for the backs, but I would probably just do it on the skirt part, the rounded part. And I think that would be super gorgeous too. So that's another thing that's another skirt I'm trying to do. When I went to the store to buy the fabric, I did not find the fabric. I was like, oh, this is what I want. So I figured I made this one because I thought this was super cute. And then I'm like, I'm gonna go back or search somewhere else for some really cozy sweater knit like fabric that will look gorgeous. Or I might even just buy a blanket and tear it up and use that for it. So that's another idea, which would be great and lovely. So let's sew that up. Alright, now we're gonna go ahead and that seam, we're gonna open up those seams and steam them flat so that they lay nicely. Be careful whatever fabric you're using that you're not going to burn the fabric. Alright, now we're gonna go and make the top part, and what we're going to do is we're gonna grab our binding and we're gonna measure it across, and add about 10 inches to each side, which is where we're going to tie later. So then we're gonna fold it in half and find our half. Okay, and here's my half. And I'm gonna do the same for the skirt. I'm gonna grab the two seams and fold it in half. And here's my half. I already have like a fold right there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the single fold method. Remember I told you that you could do it that way and then it'll be thicker if you have that single fold binding, which I do. And I didn't realize it until I was attaching it and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, and then I'm going to grab it and place it to the wrong side of my fabric at that raw edge again, just like we did on the sides. But I'm doing it the wrong side of the fabric, that way I can just fold it and just do one fold and it will be thicker on that side. So if you have single fold and you want a thicker seam, that's what you would do. And I'm gonna go all the way down that one side and attach it like we did the other one on the side. We're gonna top stitch it at that first crease. All right, from the front, I'm gonna grab that and basically tuck my seam allowance into that fold and then just fold it all the way down. So you see it's gonna be like encased in there and then it's just gonna be top stitched. So it's a thicker top stitched area. Now when I get right here to the tie, I am going to fold the tie in half because I wanna top stitch the tie together. So that's just, unless you wanna leave it open, but if you wanna top stitch it, I am going to do the thinner top stitch on this one. So once I get here, I'm gonna fold it down and top stitch the tie. At the end, we wanna fold it up and steam it. So that way when you fold it, we've got that, that edge right there. It's close together. You can either open it up the sides, fold it in, and then fold them back in so that they're trapped in there, and then fold. And this right here is going to get sewn down, top stitched together. We're going to go all the way down that top. All right, now for the ties, we're gonna cut 10 strips of 10 inch long, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna fold them in half and prep them, top stitch them together. Again, because it's a single fold, it's a lot thinner, but if you wanted to go with the thicker straps, you could do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch those and top stitch this, and all we'll have left to do is just go back and hem our skirt. So then I'll just fold it at inch and hem all the way around. And like I said, I will probably hem this one, but it will be so cute to just go ahead and add a cute little trim here at the end. I might look and see if I have any cute ribbon or something, and I might just add the ribbon and top stitch it on so it's like a pretty design at the bottom. I think that would be really cute too. All right, while I was thinking about ribbon, I went ahead and just cut some ribbon pieces. That way I didn't have to do that thin double fold bias stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that side, the back side, and I'm going to measure from the top where the ties are, where we sewed up that top tie area. I'm just gonna hand tie them so that they're over here out of the way. From the top, I'm going to measure 4 inches down, and I'm just gonna mark that. And I'm going to put my tie right there at that 4 inches. And then I'm gonna put my other side right below it, 4 inches, just right below that one tie, and pin it. Then from there, I'm gonna measure 12 inches from the top, 6 and 6, so here's 12 inches. And I'm going to pin my first one and then my next one right below it. I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to edge stitch, just edge stitch that down, and then I'm gonna fold it over and then top stitch it down. So I'm gonna edge stitch it, fold it, and top stitch it down to hide that seam. And then I'm gonna go ahead and seam at a 1/2 inch allowance, and I'm going to an inch allowance, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hem. I'm just gonna use a straight stitch on my sewing machine. My goodness, I'm like bleep 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 bleep. All right, so let me go do all that and we'll be done. All right, friends, we are done. Now I just need to tie these ties. I am super excited about this. Now I just need to get to actually decorating putting up the tree and doing the decorations, and I'll be all set. The hardest part is done, right? So anyway, with my ribbon, since I used ribbon, I will go ahead and burn those edges so it doesn't unravel. But other than that, it looks so good. Look at the little full ties in the back. And like I said, I don't know, I might add, and I might not do it on this one, but on the next one, I might add like a nice trim around the bottom or whatnot. But this is super cute. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything that I did. Comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, for a chance to win on a random giveaway. Also, come share your pictures with us on our Facebook and our Instagram page. We'd love to see them. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!